Most of the children that struggle at school shouldn't be. So why are they? They shouldn't be because it's been known for decades why they are struggling and what can be done so they don't need to struggle. So why are they? Are they struggling because of poor teaching? It's not that. Is it poor parenting? It's not that either. Are they lazy kids or thick? No. They actually work harder than the other kids until eventually they give up and stop trying because they're not getting anywhere. So, what is it that stops them learning, stops them reading, stops them focusing? Do you want to know why? It's because a few educationalists, that's the ones who make sure we've got excellent teachers, they're not listening to neuroscientists, who are the ones that understand wiring we need in our brain that enables us to learn. So as a result, we've got excellent teaching with 3 out of 4 children benefiting from that, whilst 1 in 4 can't take in what's being taught and they have to go through life missing out. It's an absolute scandal because for nearly 30 years, neuroscientists have been trying to tell us what they know that's stopping children learning and what to do about it so they can learn naturally. But the educationalists know better, or so they think. The vested interests around learning and reading processes have cancelled those professors and academics that have tried hard to explain that these children are not thick or stupid or that they only need more teaching, more tuition. And this is happening when the statistics are getting worse and worse. There's more and more ADHD, there's more autism, and still 1 in 4 children struggle with reading. When all the time these children could have been helped to show their real underlying intelligence. I often meet parents and teachers that are totally frustrated because they see the signs of intelligence but they can't get through to it. The bottom line is that a whole generation of children have been tragically let down, condemned to a life of underachievement because they didn't learn easily in school. They'll never read as well as they should. It affects their career, their confidence, it affects their sense of fulfillment. The elephant in the room is, why did all this happen? What went wrong? And the even bigger, more important question is, how can we sort it out fast? To answer the first question, nobody listened to the neuroscientists who proved conclusively there was an easy way to fix this. They were ignored, and worse, they were ridiculed and cancelled. Even very famous documentary makers, both sides of the Atlantic, filmed their own studies showing what had become possible, and they broadcast amazing transformations in the children and the adults that they filmed. Then the educationists with the vested interests worked very hard to shut that down. Their vested interests were being threatened. They weren't worrying about the children that were being held back, or even concerned about the science. And as academics, that should have seriously excited them. So, millions suffer to this day needlessly. And this is all caused by the same group of people who influence government policy. So perhaps we should blame the government. Well, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to say to the advisors around learning needs, what you were advising us to do isn't working. You've been telling us the same thing for decades, but learning issues are not getting better. In fact, they're getting worse. My hope is that one day we'll have a very bright Minister of Education who will examine the neuroscience without listening to the vested interest, and he or she will change government policy when what is possible has sunk in. They'll give teachers the tools they need to assess the real root cause of those problems and then put in place what will deal with the reason why some children can't learn. It can be solved in the classroom very quickly and very safely, and a few have done it. The irony is that many of these children are really intelligent, and that increases their frustration when reading is almost impossible for them. So what exactly is the problem they have? Well, what holds them back is the incomplete or unfinished development of the skills they need to read and retain, the same skills they need to help them listen and retain what they've heard. Nothing to do with their level of intelligence, simply skills that were delayed in their early development. So we're learning more and more about some of the clues we get that why this or when this might be happening. For instance, often the children that don't read well didn't crawl for the usual amount of time. They started walking around the furniture very early instead. Parents often assume that this is a sign their children is bright, is forward, but often these are the children that find reading really hard when they get to school. So the solution that neuroscientists have discovered, if you stimulate their brains in the right way for 10 minutes a day with carefully chosen activities just for a few weeks, you can replicate the skill development they missed when they were 6 months old. It's no big deal to solve this, but it's a nightmare if you don't. The wonderful thing is that neuroscientists now know how this can be done at any age. So what's it mean? We have a generation that are suffering needlessly. But fortunately, it's not too late to get it sorted. So if you're a parent of a child that's struggling, don't hold your breath waiting for government policy to change so that teachers get the tools to help. You'll have to be a warrior parent and find the solution for your own child. If you're in government, please push for the education department to listen to neuroscientists for once and get the policies changed. You should start thinking of teachers as educationalists, as being brilliant at filling the bucket. They get the learning across to the child, but the neuroscientists have the skills to repair the holes in the bucket so that the information goes in and stays, so they learn. You know what else this will transform? The crazy crisis we have in funding special educational needs. It's an astronomical cost. The answer to this problem has been staring them in the face for a long time, whilst they've been looking the other way.